So, welcome to Leading Heels. I'm your host, Dr. Monique Lynch, and with me today is Mrs. Simone Blackwood. Hi, Simone.
Hi, Dr. Lynch. Thank you so much for having me on your platform. Thank you so much for the invitation.
It is truly an honor to have you.
Thank
So, Simone, tell my viewers a little bit about you.
Well, Simone Blackwood. I am based in Trinidad. I am a gerontologist, and that means I work a lot with aged persons and their families. But I also have another role. I wear several hats. And another one of those hats is being the managing director of my institute, which is the Global Career Institute. And of course, I am a consultant, an education consultant. And so, again, that hat basically covers the institute, my nursing or retirement home, training students, and of course, being a gerontologist. So, it all comes together very nicely under the term education consultant.
Awesome. So, what I'm hearing is that you are passionate about empowerment, nursing education, entrepreneurship. What's the backstory to the establishment of such traits?
I never liked to be in a mold. I never liked to be confined. And I think thinking about it now, I understand the importance of just not fitting in and thinking outside the box.
Yes.
Um, Starting my training, at first, before I did all of this, I actually did my training in nursing, where I had to do my BSN and do my exams, licensing exams, and so forth. And when I got to the very last part of my program, I just decided I can't see myself doing this forever. Not that I didn't love it, but I just didn't want to do it in that capacity. As a RN, I just figured I felt better about training and tutoring. This morning, I was in a conversation with my mom and one of my administrators, and we were laughing because I did biochemistry, a subject, and I failed it 3 times. And the fourth time, I failed it for an entire semester. And the fourth time, I got an A. And I was telling my mom and my administrator that I think even then, I just got this passion for training and music. And so I decided um, my purpose, and my energy would be better spent empowering other persons, training them, and teaching them. And that's where I am today, working, mentoring, training, educating.
Okay, so you said that you're an RN. So did you work any time at all in that sphere, or you just moved strictly from graduation into entrepreneurship?
I had to very briefly. It is a contractual thing with our government. In Trinidad, education is somewhat free or free. And so because you have to give back, and so I had to. So I did various rotations. I did my rotations at the St. John Hospital, for the Spring General Hospital. We had to work in the clinics. So we had to do that, but I did not spend any time. I don't believe in wasting time. So I didn't spend any additional time any more than I had to in that particular arena. I went on shortly after and started my institute. But it didn't start as the Global Career Institute. It actually started off as a nursing agency. So that is a very long story.
So would you say that your experience as a student would have pushed you into now being an educator?
I think so. I believe so 100% because I understand as a student what I wanted and what I didn't want. And it puts me in a position to help another person or another student who maybe they're unable to express what exactly their needs are. Students have particular needs, and sometimes I'm not knocking educators, but sometimes educators don't meet that need
Right.
because we are very busy on meeting deadlines, making sure we follow the curriculum to a T, making sure we have stakeholders that we have to answer to. But we also have the students, right? And I think one of the things I pride myself on being the helm at the Global Career Institute is to make sure that we're very student centered. So we have to make sure, and I try to work with all of the tutors as much as I can, making sure that the students' needs are met. So in hindsight, yes, I really believe that experience as a student, and trying to get that support, sometimes you wouldn't really get all of the support that you need, and so you have to channel that energy and try and figure it out for yourself. But we want to make it at the institute so students don't really have to fight and figure it out. We would help them figure it out.
Awesome. So being certified and being having that credential of 6 institutions, you would have taken the initiative to tackle whatever stigma there may be on dementia and gerontology on a whole. Would you say that your experiences has led you to take such initiatives and elaborate on the importance of this and what impact will it have on the society?
Right. Gerontology in itself, I there's so much to say about it. I particularly got into the field again because of an experience while I was training, while I was a student. And we did gerontology, but the gerontology I did, it is totally different to the gerontology that I got certified in. It is black and white, well, black and white, totally different. Um, Understanding the importance of working with an aging population, we age. We don't like to speak about it, but we age. Some persons age gracefully, some persons do not. But we age and we can't run from that. Dementia, I say it's a public health issue. It's an issue that's near and dear to me because I see so many persons that are affected with dementia, not only the patients, but the families as well.
Right.
In consulting, working with families, you always hear of rifts between the siblings. You hear of the issues that they face working, trying to work with another family member. And then patient care is affected because persons don't know how to do what they're supposed to do, which is work in the better interest of the patient. So
Right.
it's always been a thing, just trying to get to the root of the problem and figuring out, putting the pieces together because dementia is like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle, right? And you have to put
Yes.
all of the different pieces together. You have to look at the cognitive factors, you have to look at the environmental factors, the physical factors with the patient, nutritional factors, family factors. So there are a lot of different factors. Of course, socioeconomic factors as well, getting the patient to work with the caregiver if they're getting a caregiver, getting a family to understand the dynamics of it and to know what change to expect. So it is so much. I mean, I don't think we have enough time to get into everything, but it is so much, and so that's why I think it's an issue that it is of it's imperative that we understand the dynamics of it. As we get older, what are the factors that can put somebody to at risk? And even then, we have additional factors that we look at, like anxiety and depression and stuff like that from the
Right.
family and the patient. So we have that. So to answer your question, it is imperative, it's important that we understand that, it's dementia is not an old person thing. I think persons need to get sensitized about it. People need
Yes.
to understand the dynamics around it. It is something very important. Um, and we see now that persons are being diagnosed sometimes younger. Instead of
Yes.
thinking that it's an old person thing, when you get old, you're just supposed to forget, and that's really not the case. So again, to answer your question, it is important. We need to look at it. We need to learn about it. We need to figure out what type of care is best for our patients in that regard. And, just work with someone. I always try and work with someone to at least get a plan, develop a care plan, and, work within the care plan so that it would be easier for family and patient and beneficial as well.
So do you think that health sectors in Trinidad or in the Caribbean is doing enough?
Oh,
Or
never.
is
No. I I don't even have to wait for the question to for you to finish a question. Definitely no. No. Um, I think we still have physicians who don't educate enough on dementia. I think
Right,
it could be because it's not their specialty. Because you would understand in medicine, you
right,
have different specialties, just like you would have a registered nurse who would specialize in oncology. You have community care nurses that would go to the communities with children. We have nurses that would work in the psychiatric wards and would train tailored for that. So I think just if you're a general nurse, you will touch on everything. If you're a general physician, you touch on everything. But there are some things that you don't really go into depth with. Neurologists, neurologists would go into that. Psychiatrists can help you figure it out, but sometimes still be afraid to ask questions, and the physicians will just say, "Well, we seem to have a case of dementia, or Alzheimer's, so let's just get them on put them on some medication." Nobody thinks about CBT. Nobody thinks about behavioral modification treatment.
right,
They don't think about that. They think about the depression or the cognitive symptoms that accompany the disease, and they work with that. They don't work with anything else. So I don't think the health sector, I don't think we do enough. And I would say we, myself included, because I
right.
think there are things that I can do more. More collaborations, more working with other sectors and getting the information there. But I think we have a long way to go. And I was on another program about a week or two ago, and I remember saying to them, it's so weird that the pandemic came, COVID-19 came, and it just showed us how so unprepared we are.
Right.
It showed us how unprepared we, and I said we in the Caribbean, in Trinidad and other countries, we,
Yeah.
the world, America, the world, the first world, it just showed how unprepared we are. And there's more to be done. I think more workshops can be held. I
Right.
think we can do more sensitization with caregivers, especially. I think we can do a lot more training with families, a lot more emphasis on letting families know, don't, at what interval do you seek additional help and support. I think there are a lot of things that we all can do, um, to share information and to share knowledge and to tell persons, this is what you need to look out for. Look for the normal, look for what is abnormal, tell them the signs, the symptoms, not just memory loss. There are a lot of other things that can accompany, dementia, symptoms or manifestations of dementia. So I think all of those things are things that we can start to do, to help families and to help the patients alike, because I am all for um, enhancing patients' quality of life. That is something that is very important to me.
Okay, so you mentioned something about dementia and Alzheimer's. I know a lot of persons use those two terms interchangeably as if they mean the same thing, but I know they do not. So can you just shed some light on the difference between dementia and Alzheimer's?
Sure. Dementia is what we call an umbrella symptom. So Alzheimer's is actually a type of dementia, right? So we have different types of dementia. So when we speak about dementia and what dementia is, we're looking at alterations in a patient's behavior, right? Each type of dementia comes usually with their own manifestations. So we have, it's a good example, Alzheimer's, right? Uh, Monique, you're putting me in a path here. Putting me in a path here. But education is what I do. So we have what you call episodic memory, we have somatic memory, we have procedural memory, and we have with Alzheimer's disease one particular type of memory that is affected. With dementia, however, that's not really the case. We have total decline with cognition, right? So every type of dementia has its own manifestations as well as has having its own risk factors and causes. So, for example, vascular dementia, we know vascular has to do with our cardiovascular system. So persons who
Right,
had a stroke, for example, they are at risk for vascular dementia. Because when you have a stroke, you have like occlusion or blockage of blood supply, right? And of course, that affects the brain. kills or damages the brain cells, and that can cause in itself memory loss symptoms and loss of other functions. So that's that. And then we have again frontotemporal dementia. There's like a whole, this is a rabbit hole. We probably need to do an
whole
entire
thing.
session on that, right? But I just want to emphasize that there is a difference. Dementia is the umbrella term, and there are different types of dementia. There are different types of dementia under the term dementia, right? So dementia itself is the term that speaks to cognitive decline, and then you have the different types that are specific to their manifestations or the clinical manifestations. So
So
that's
basically, Alzheimer's would come under the umbrella of dementia.
correct.
Got you.
Parkinson's disease as well falls under the umbrella of dementia, Parkinson's disease, because it's a
Oh,
neurological,
yes, Parkinson's, right.
right? Huntington's disease. Um, So a lot of these disorders fall under dementia.
So you are currently overseeing the operation of three major institutions, I think Trinidad, Jamaica, and St. Vincent. Several other projects, not to mention having to encounter various personalities daily. What motivates you to persist?
I think for me, despite having all of the challenges that we would encounter, and yes, dealing with different personalities, I think I always like to look at the bigger picture, and I have gotten very good at drawing noise. So what motivates me is understanding that it's just not about me. It is about others. It's about helping. It's about giving persons the knowledge that they need, equipping them with the relevant tools, the skills, and the knowledge that they need to become like me or to become like you or to live to their fullest potential, whatever it is their potential is. And I think that is what keeps me going all the time. My background as a child, um, you know, I didn't grow up with an abundance of things. We just had sufficient.
Yes.
And growing up like that, again, for me, situations like that would you know, cause you to make sure that you don't stay in a particular position. You always want to achieve something because it feels like you want to get out of the situation you are in. And along the way, we would have made mistakes. I would have made mistakes. And I think most of the mistakes is because we just didn't have, we didn't know. But,
Guidance, right.
but you just know you want better. And
Yes.
that was my thing. I just knew I wanted better. I didn't know what the better was, but I knew I wanted better. And the situation was not what I wanted. So I did as a keynote speaker for a program recently, Go Say Yes. It's an empowerment program. And I was telling them that I see them, and I see myself in them because at some point in time, I would have been like them as a teenager, just still trying to figure out where to go or what am I doing, where exactly am I going.
Who
So
you are.
yeah,
Yeah.
you're still trying to find your footing. Who are you? Or who is Simone? What is Simone about? And even going into my adult years, there's still periods of me trying to figure out, well, who is Simone, again, because you didn't have that growing up, that sort of persons to tell you that these are the options, you just sort of kind of figure it out. So
Right.
for me, what motivates me is trying to help another person bypass what I went through, right? Not saying that there wouldn't be other obstacles and struggles, but if I can help you or show you that there's a quicker way of doing this, or there's a better way of doing this, or there's a way that you can elevate yourself without going down a particular route and you can try this route, then I am satisfied that I would have assisted. And that is what keeps me going because in this institute, managing, directing this institute, overseeing students in Jamaica, overseeing students in Trinidad, overseeing students in St. Vincent. We have small amounts of students in other Caribbean islands as well, St. Lucia, Barbados, Grenada. We have these students, and they come knowing that they want to do a program, but when just get to have that one-on-one conversation, they're still not too clear on their path.
Right.
I think that is where we come in as the institute to help and to guide and to help them on their path, or to show them some type of guidance, or to give them options. And that Dr. Lynch, that is what really keeps me going. I think there's so many young ladies out there that just need that that
Push.
that level
Yes.
word of encouragement, that word of that motivation. You can do it. If I did it, you can do it.
Ah, you dropped a lot of bombshells right there, and I can totally relate. As I'm always saying that we're on the same life mission, just to help another person see that there's a different path.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I'm sure you would have faced a lot of challenges being in leadership and being a leader in healthcare education industry. But what particular challenges have you faced being a woman in leadership?
My well, I have challenges, personal challenges. We have the imposter syndrome that sometimes we have to deal with. And that's the intern, that's the demons behind the doors that we deal with. And then when you get out there, you have other persons who think because you're a woman, you are less effective. I have been told that while I'm a very sweet person and very sweet, I could be a very you don't need to say this on air. I have been told by my husband and by other persons, Mrs. Blackwood, you are just so rough and you are so mean. I say, not mean in the sense of bullying another person mean. I think they just want, I'm straightforward because
Straightforward,
one of the
right?
challenges that you're going to meet is people thinking that they can tell you they know better than you in your relevant field. And you always have to not prove yourself, but you always have to tell persons. Sometimes you have to reiterate the same thing over and over. I'm competent, I am capable, and sometimes people see a woman who is home rearing children and home doing your womanly duties, and probably that's where you're supposed to be. Like we're probably in the 1960s or something, 50s.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes getting that equality, gender equality in the workplace, we have to fight so much for it. So we have persons who think we're not competent. We have persons who think we're not capable. I would have encountered, just having general conversations with men, and they're not saying it, but you would sort of feel like, okay, what is a gerontologist? What do you do? Who do you manage? Do you manage this institute alone? um, who makes all the decisions and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
I'm polite to the board of directors, um, but as the chairman, the decision lies with me. And I think I have done pretty well, knowing that I have scaled an
Mhm.
institute from 12 by 12 office to a big office to um, three Caribbean regions, and others will come in due time. So those challenges, I think, for me, makes me it pushes me. The obstacles pushes me. It makes me see that either one, sometimes it makes you think you have something to prove, but then sometimes you think you don't really have to prove anything to anybody.
Right.
That kind of way.
Yes.
But for me, I take challenges personally, I take obstacles personally, and I just simply say, okay, what is this trying to teach me? So you've made your point, you've been difficult. What are you trying to teach me now? What am I supposed to learn from this? And usually there is an educational moment and a challenge, and you just use it to make better decisions next time. And for me, that is how I use obstacles. That's how I use challenges, and that's how I work with males or other persons, other genders who perhaps think that you can't do it alone.
as a woman.
That's something.
All right. So you spoke about being a role model for your students. And what's it like being a role model in today's society?
We have a perception of what we're supposed to be at a particular time. I think persons, especially students, will tell me, you know, Miss, you inspire me, but the time is so different. Like, yes, we know you had all the challenges and you were able to overcome them in that. I don't know how old people think I am. I don't know how people think I am. I guess when they see the CV or the resume, they probably think this lady's old, but I'm not old.
Yeah.
I'm very young persons making an impact. And so the time, yes, we have a difference now with social media, and that's basically our obstacle. We have that obstacle because people can't apparently separate what's real from what's not. And for me, I think some of the things that keeps me going is that working with younger persons, sharing those stories, showing them, empowering them, giving them the skills that they need. Because more, if we can be candid just for a minute, right? We have persons who are growing up in less than desirable homes. It doesn't mean that they can't be somebody. It doesn't mean that they can't achieve and get to their highest potential. Somewhere right now, there is some young lady or some young child or a boy um, in an environment that is not suitable. Does it mean we give up on them? Does it mean that we don't help them? Does it mean that we decide that the environment is what makes them? You know. So going back to your question, when I get to that particular point, encountering another person, another young person. When we get to that point, I want to emphasize, and I always drive in the point, I ask you first what you want. What do you want? And then we could take it from there. How do you get there? You know, it is not just me saying, okay, let me help, let me empower, let me mentor, let me do this, let me do that. Um, it's not like that. I think sometimes as a role model, we need to still be realistic because people are looking up to us and people are saying they can be like us, but we need to be realistic and we need to be honest when we are saying, okay, yes, you can be like me. You could probably be better than me, and all you need to do is get a degree or two, get a master's degree, get a doctorate, and then everything will fall in your lap. But no, because
Oh,
we know it does not work like that. We can have all of our accolades behind our names. We can have 50 accolades behind our name, but being a role model to me means you have to be honest. Be honest about how you got to the point where you are at, and be honest in sharing information, and be honest in leading. Be honest. I think I'm too candid sometimes because at the end of the, and I think some people appreciate it. You need to be honest. You can't say, okay, well, here I am. Yes, I'm a chair and I sit at the helm. How did I get there? I didn't propel from nursing
drop from
school into a
that.
chair. You would have the challenges, you would have the obstacles. So just
Right.
to reiterate, for me, being a role model means I have to be honest. I have to be honest about my journey. I have to be honest about the challenges that I encounter that most likely that person will encounter. I have to be honest about um, going through the struggles. I have to be honest and tell you this is what you will encounter, but I also will be a ray of hope and say, even if you encounter it, you will be okay.
Yeah. And also you don't want to project your own goals and your own
Oh, yeah.
dreams onto mentees. Because
Yes.
I think sometimes that can be an issue as well.
Yes, this is why I've said earlier, we ask them always, what do you want? Before we even begin on on this journey, you need to know what you want. I can't tell
Yeah.
you what you want.
No.
And I can't say to you, this is what you should want. I had a conversation again with another young lady, and I was asking her, what kind of jobs do you want? What do you see yourself? And she said, well, I signed up to the geriatric nursing here, so I'm waiting on them to call me. And, I do catering on the side. And she said I did something else. I'm trying to remember what it was. But she did catering, and then she does some stuff on the side as a preschool. And she said, Mrs. Blackwood, I can function anyway. And I said to her, I do not believe in a jack of all trades, master of none. I believe that you can be competent
Yeah.
in things. I do believe that, right? I do believe that a person can be competent at many things. But when we're speaking about your life goal and the direction you want to go, you can't hop on every train that
Everything.
passes.
Right.
You have to let some train pass you because you need to realize the train is not going in your direction.
Right.
Jump on the train and the train is going to take you north. And when you're really supposed to be going south, the opportunity south miss you because you're on a train heading north. So
Right.
being going towards something that doesn't serve you, um, it's not where you want to go. So I think that is why we ask, what do you want? And when you decide that's what you want, then we work towards what you want. Not what you think you want, not what will make the most money now. And then if it doesn't pan out, then I could jump onto the plan B. I don't
Mhm.
have a plan B. I never had a plan B. I even never had a plan B. Since I joined nursing school, I've never had a plan B. Since I applied for nursing school, I've never had a plan B because for me, I had to get in. So I don't know if it's faith. I don't know if it's radical faith or what. I never had a plan B. I met persons in the interview that said, well, if I don't get through here, I will try to apply here. I've never had that conversation. I have no plan Bs. I have to get through because I understand that this is where I'm going.
Right.
So that's that. So as you said, we don't project what we want. We ask them what it is they want, and then we put them on that journey, what they decide they want.
Right. And that's the power of vision, knowing what you want and what direction that you need to take. Well, at this time, we're going to take a short break. So we will be back. Please stay tuned. right, so welcome back to Leading Heels. I'm here with my guest, Mrs. Simone Blackwood from Trinidad. We were just talking about having a vision for your life and knowing the direction that you ought to take, especially when you want to consider having a mentor. So I wanted to ask, given the current state of the pandemic and the paradigm shift with the contemporary society, what difficulties have you faced, and then what advice can you give to those aspiring to take a leap of becoming an entrepreneur, especially in the healthcare sector?
Uh, with the shift, that paradigm shift that came with the COVID-19 pandemic, I saw despair, but I also saw room for opportunities, opportunities that we capitalized on um, with our expansion, right? So there are opportunities, as I said before, with every challenges, there are opportunities that comes in disguise. And persons may say this is a cliche, it is not. Because we always hear persons like myself or the entrepreneurs or the persons who we deem successful say this. And we think, well, this is just a cliche, everybody says it. But we say it because it's true. I'll give just a quick example with one of my before the pandemic, with my consulting and training, I had to go country to country. I'd literally jump on a plane, um, go to a hotel or an Airbnb, and some time there, and then move on. But now, with the radical transformation with digitalization, I don't have to do that. I could have my workshop in Guyana, I can have a workshop in Trinidad, I can have a workshop in St. Vincent within the span
Yeah,
of 3 days and never leave my country. No, I love traveling, so sometimes I opt not to. I opt to travel to go into the country because I like to experience different cultures. But I'm just saying that that is something that it is a challenge. COVID came as a challenge. It came with a lockdown. I've seen businesses soar during the pandemic. Local businesses have been developed during a pandemic. Courier services, that's not something we had a lot of. And now you can find a courier service like every corner.
everywhere.
You can find that everywhere. Persons are closing down their business, persons are adapting, not closing down their business, but closing down their physical space, or
Right.
online, and they are still efficient, right? So my advice to anybody who wants to become an entrepreneur, have your plan. Make sure your plan can be flexible. I would also say to the person, the challenges will come, but so will the opportunities. Just need to know how to separate out, separate the opportunities from the challenges when they arise. I would also say to persons, and this is something personally for myself, make sure you have your written mantra. Make sure, and journaling is important. Make sure you write. In 2017, I still have the notebook. In 2017, I wrote about my expansion. Jamaica was the top of my list. St. Vincent was there. Jamaica was the top, but St. Vincent was there. Grenada, other Caribbean countries were there. Um, and it came to pass a mere 3 years later, only 3 years it took. Somebody may say, well, 3 years is a lot of time. It's not in entrepreneurship because this is not a marathon. This is not a sprint, sorry. It's not a sprint. So 3 years turnaround time in business is actually wonderful. Right? It shows that your business is moving, it's growing, and things are happening. So write your vision and make it clear. And when we speak certain things into existence, so we need to be careful about that as well. Right? We need to be
Yes.
careful about that. In my early 20s, my mom can attest to that. She will listen to this interview and she'll say, like, yeah. In my very early 20s, I used to say, I will not marry someone from my country. I I will not marry somebody from my country. I lived in Grenada for years. I'm a Trinidadian. My dad is in Grenada. And I kept saying, I am not marrying anybody from these countries. My husband is a Jamaican. Because I said in my early 20s, I probably would have married a Jamaican. saying all of that to say words are powerful. The
Yes,
intention,
very
the intent that we set out there, whatever is our intention, that is what comes into fruition. That is what comes to pass, our intention. So we need to be mindful of that. If you want to jump out as an entrepreneur, make sure you have support. Sometimes there are days you wouldn't have any support. If you have a one good friend that will support you, great. If you don't have the support, do it, do it, still do it. Even if you don't have the support, do it despite not having that support. The support will come when your intentions are set. So make sure you do it, make sure you set your intention, make sure you write your intention, and make sure you work with your intention in mind. It's not a sprint. We Jamaicans are good at sprinting.
good.
There's no
Yes, we are, but life is not a sprint.
so life is not a sprint. I think
Yeah.
sometimes when we do certain things, we have that we have a way of thinking that things are supposed to be done in a particular way, and we don't like to trust the
Hmm.
process. And again, this is something that people may think is a cliche when somebody says trust the process, but we need to also trust the process. I think some of my anxiety as a young adult came from not understanding that life was a process. And so there are certain things that I wanted to happen that I find it wasn't happening. And so I started to get very anxious because why is this not happening? Why am I not making this money? Am I still in school? Why am I still in
Yeah.
school? Why am I still here? Why? I was there because it's a process, and so you need to also understand when you get into business, it is a process. It is something that takes time, it takes grit, it takes energy, it takes some of your sleep away, but it's worth it.
Yeah, and also the importance of just unloading the expectations.
Oh,
Yeah, the
definitely.
expectations.
And nightly, the process. Because you see, when we expect certain things and it doesn't happen, it yields a negative response in our body. We begin to get anxious, we begin to get sad, we begin to get frustrated
Depressed.
because we think, oh
Hmm?
yeah, because we think, why isn't it happening? And because our expectations sometimes are way high. Our
Too
expectations
high.
are like way up there. And you're making movements, but it's not all up there. You're making a little movement, just a little.
Right.
And you get depressed and sad because you think that's not where you're supposed to be. And so it gets very challenging for the person. So I just want to encourage you, as Dr. Lynch said, manage your expectations, make smart goals, make sure you understand that it's a process. So it's not going to happen right away. And this is why prisons like banks and so will tell us your 5-year plan because they understand
It's
it's
a
not something
process.
that you can get within a year. They understand that.
Mm-hmm.
And they know things, they know when businesses are being realistic from when they're being unrealistic,
Mm-hmm.
because things take time. But once you get the flow of it and you get the hang of it, it will kick off and you will be in a much better space and you'll be happy that you didn't give up and that you understood the process.
And celebrate every win.
Oh yeah,
Yes,
celebrate the
celebrate
losses too.
every win. Turn your losses into lessons and just take another step forward.
Had so many losses. We have had, that students that can be challenging sometimes. So we would have had the challenges. We have had some losses, but for every loss we've had about 10 wins. So it makes it so worthwhile that even though there's this one
Right.
student that you couldn't reach for whatever reasons, you have reached 10 and it just works. So this is why I'm at a point now where if I see something's not going my way, I can laugh on it. I can laugh about it. I can. Because chances are it's not going my way because it's not supposed to and something else is going to happen and it's going to be very amazing. So I can't lie. The challenges are just so challenges now make me smile. The obstacles make me smile. It's so weird. It's weird, but yeah.
Yeah, so many females may or may not have, in fact, experiencing ceiling with their preferred choice of career, preventing them from achieving specific goals. What advice would you have for those persons?
If I may be controversial here, but I don't think there's anything that can stop us from achieving what we want to achieve. I may be very controversial with this response. I think persons need to understand that there is a process and there are steps to anything that we want. Now, if you're looking at becoming prime minister of a country, let's just say, for example, there are particular steps that you need to go in order to get there. Now, ultimately, you may not be prime minister, maybe you may vote for somebody else, just saying. But um, you would have achieved a major milestone. You would have broken or shattered the glass ceiling because you would have at least got to the point where you would have contended, right? So I'm saying that to say there isn't anything right now. I'm not being I'm not being tone deaf. We know that there are obstacles with young persons. That's why we have mentorships and other programs in place. So I'm not being tone deaf about that. I know that there are some hindrances, but if you're already in feel already an adult and you think that your goals are not attainable, get additional support, seek a mentor, seek out a mentorship program. There are persons and places that offer free mentorship programs. Get on board with one of that and be prepared to do the work. Because as I said, I don't think there's anything that can stop us from achieving the things that we want to achieve. We do have gender disparities. We do have that in the workplace. And we spoke about that earlier. So there are the gender disparities. There are hindrances. They're like gnats, like a bug, you know. And when I say like a bug, sometimes you have like mosquitoes singing in your ear. That's what they are. They're just
Yeah.
like noise. Just swat them. They're hindrances, but they are not anything that can hinder the entire process. They are just hindrances on the obstacle of you becoming great. So that's my take on it. I don't think there's anything that can stop any female in particular. Now we have a lot more to work with than we did
Before.
years ago. Could you imagine that? It was just 50 years ago, 50 or 60 years ago. We have so much more to work with now. And while I do acknowledge and understand we have a very long way to go, we do have a lot more things, situations we need to address, right? But that doesn't stop anything. That doesn't stop you from becoming a pioneer in whatever field you choose, you will excel with or whatever you are good at. There's nothing stopping you. Make a plan. That's the very first thing we need to do. Plan what you want. The steps. We have the internet. I can't recall having the internet when I was going to high school. I think we
Mm,
had to go to our internet cafe.
not really.
I can't even recall. I think
I think social media, but not necessarily for guidance
social
or
media came in after I left high school. I think this is giving away my age, but I think social media or Facebook actually came in after I left school, or
you
maybe
know, you
that's
had like high five, you had
oh
like
yeah, we had High Five, a
MySpace.
MySpace, and MSN Messenger. So we had that, but it
Mhm.
really wasn't that big exposure to the internet. And of course, we didn't
Right.
know how to use the internet by that time. We didn't know all that. So, um, but I would say make your plan, make a plan. You know, and once you just figure out what you want to do, then we take the steps into getting you to where you want to go. As a woman leading in heels, this program, I know it's about empowering women and just speaking about women that has over had all the obstacles and had to overcome the obstacles and so forth, which I want to commend you on this program.
Thank you.
You know, when we get into a particular position, I just want to say we should not forget the people who helped us get there because it's not everybody we would have had a bad experience with. There are persons that actually would have supported us and we need
Mhm.
to acknowledge those persons. So, and going back to answering your question with the female or the woman who wants to get to their career, to pivot to the next level, get someone who is there, has been there, is going there, and go with that person, run with that person. Make your plan, make it very clear, and be specific, right? I can't operate in chaos. I don't like chaos. Right? You
Mm-hmm.
see, noise, I don't like noise. And when I mean noise, I don't mean the noise in the music. I generally don't like noise because I think it takes away from what is important. It
Right.
takes away from our focus. So if you have a lot of things there are a lot of things I don't deal with. And it's not because I think I'm better than people where I don't want to deal with it. It's
Yeah.
because my brain doesn't have the capacity to deal with it. So I would give it to somebody who can deal with it because my brain is focused on a lot of other things that are more result driven.
Right.
So if it takes away from my focus, I don't like to deal with it. And I think this is something people have, have to
Yeah. Learn to.
learn to do, and people feel bad when they're doing it. I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad to tell
Years
people
of
no.
practice.
I don't. You need to practice. Say to
Years
them
of
no, no, and learn to say no without giving an explanation. No, I am sorry. I can't um I can't do it at this very time, but keep me updated. I probably can help in the future. No, no, just no. Just say no. If it's taking away from the goal, you have to learn to say no because you will be pulling yourself in a lot of different directions and it will take you longer to get to your desired destination because you're pulling in all different directions and it doesn't help you. It doesn't. So getting rid of noise is very important. And if there are things that contribute to the noise, you get rid of that too. So unless it's a particular situation that I really I have to deal with within my job description, I don't do it. I give the administrator to do it. And again, it's not that I think that I'm better than people.
I
It's
totally
it's
understand.
just understanding that they have to make decisions. They have to make hard decisions. And everybody thinks that their issue is urgent. Your urgent is not my urgent, right?
True.
Your urgent
True.
is not my urgent. My urgent is my urgent. What I see is as urgent for me to do. I have my board, and what's on this board is urgent. And if you are not on the board, that means you are not urgent. So again,
Mhm.
it sounds bad, but we need to
Yes.
adopt this
Mm-hmm.
mentality if you want to break the glass ceiling. Because that's how you're going to break it. That is
True.
how you're going to get there. Get away from the noise, focus on what is important, execute on what is important, and you stay on that trail. That's all. That's just it.
And just to add to that, sometimes I feel like we're waiting on opportunities to come and meet us. Sometimes we have to create those opportunities for ourselves. We have to kick down some doors, create some doors to walk in as well. So we can't just limit ourselves as to what opportunity will come to us. Sometimes we have to create those
Oh yeah,
opportunities.
definitely. And again, sometimes these opportunities come via obstacles. Sometimes opportunities it begins with a thought. Sometimes those opportunity begins with just an idea, but because we don't want to make that move, we don't want to make that
Mhm.
move and create. Who would have thought? Do you know any other gerontologists besides me?
No,
Right?
no,
And
I don't.
I think in Trinidad we have like, well, Dr. Rose is very respected. Dr. Brown is also very respected in their field. They have done a lot for the aging community in
Mhm.
Trinidad. And I think there's one other person, but the name is just not coming to me right now. And myself, in a population of 1.4 million people. And I have traveled countries and trained the persons. Create your opportunities.
Right.
Create your opportunities. Set your plan. Want what you have to offer. Make sure what
Yeah.
you're offering is good. People want what you have to offer. Create
Hmm.
the opportunities and put yourself out there and start to work. Roll up your sleeves and start to work. Know that we can fluff and we can say all of the motivational speeches. We can we can be as quote roomy, quote, quote all of these people. But at the end of the day, you see, on my side here, if you notice, on my side, I have this here. And this is my mantra for the day. I have to be accountable. I have to be accountable to staff, accountable to stakeholders, accountable to my mentor, to my mentees, my mentors. Productivity. Whatever I do, it needs to be productive. I need to make sure I knock out these major tasks that I have because they're probably leading to something else that I have to do and be efficient about it. And this goes back to the noise, blocking out the noise. You can't be efficient if you're trying to help everybody. And create just work, productivity, just work because we can quote all of the nice quotes, all of the nice things that sound so nice and put up all these quotes. If you're not doing anything, it doesn't make any
Yeah, it doesn't
sense.
make any sense.
At
Yes.
some point in time, you had to stop posting the quotes and actually do the work. So if you're looking for inspiration through the quotes, it's wonderful that you can get the inspiration, but at the end of the day,
Mm-hmm.
you need to
Do
do
the
the work.
work.
Yeah, you need to get up and do the work. So that is my advice in a nutshell. I personally set my intentions, I start with my plan, I write my plan, and then um I start to develop from there.
Okay, so in all your long list of experiences, what has been your most rewarding moment and why?
Oh wow. Um I don't have one major rewarding moment. I think every time I see students graduate, receive their certificates, and I see their faces excited, that is always a rewarding moment for me. I can't say I have one, one or any one moment in particular. But I do anxiously, I personally, we have a excellence award, a student excellence award, excellence academic award. And I wait every year to see which student is getting it. So that has me because it's also a way of measuring or gauging um, the school if we're doing what we are supposed to do. And so that's a major way that's one mechanism that I use to measure productivity and to measure our making sure that our KPIs or key performance indicators. So it's a way of measuring our KPIs. So I look forward to that. Um, I can't every single moment that we celebrate something is something for me to uh, a moment to savor. It's a moment to enjoy, but I can't avoid any one moment because I don't think any one moment is better than the other. My wedding, I can't even think of that. I got to my wedding. No, I got to my wedding very late and I almost didn't get married on that day. So, I'm thinking of the days, thinking of all of those days. But every moment, every milestone we achieve, everything I express gratitude. I'm very grateful for it. I'm grateful for the persons who trust me, persons, clients, students who trust me to mentor them, to bring them on the right track. I'm grateful for I'm grateful for the clients. I am grateful for the persons who put their loved ones, who are living with dementia in my care, to care for them. I am just grateful for all of that. I don't know. All of them, all of those moments are rewarding moments for me.
Yes.
Yeah, everything. If I see a family member responding or caring using the care plan that I created, if I see them using it and I see the positive responses, that is very rewarding for me. When I see the students with their guns, that's also rewarding for me. When I see a student get a new job who I'm mentoring or who I have been mentoring, and they get a new job and we get good reviews, that's also rewarding for me. So I don't think anyone hits on the other.
I'm guessing all moments hit differently, different spots. So yeah, I can agree. So what should we expect next from you?
We do have a workshop. We have three workshops coming up actually. They're supposed to be We're still in the planning phases, but we're doing what we do best. So we have the business innovation workshop where we want to start to work with entrepreneurs, and we're catering to those persons who are in the school because they're persons who are studying and still want to have something on the side,
Right.
on the side. So we're definitely putting together some stuff for them, right? And I'll be calling on you and your colleagues
No
for
problem.
that all day. I have that, and then I have my annual workshops with dementia, and so for the behavioral approach to dementia, which is my personal training that I developed from scratch. So usually I do that. So I have that as well upcoming. And well, training, I have training every week with my students and my mentees. So that's that. But the three major things I want to pay attention to is the business innovation workshop. I think before the ending of the year, we are looking at having at least 50 persons um, and having a partnership between the private and public sector so that
Right.
persons can get relevant mentorship, relevant training, whether it's a startup, whether it's a seed grant or something that can assist them on their journey. So that is what we are working on presently.
All right. So for persons who may want to contact you, read about your work, probably attend your institution, can you share your social media handles and websites?
Well, we have the Windflower Retirement Home. So that's Windflower Retirement Home on Facebook. Most of our social media are on Facebook, actually. I'm on LinkedIn. So if you need me personally, LinkedIn is my preferred choice. So Simone Blackwood TT, and you can find me on LinkedIn. But however, the Institute, Global Career Institute, Windflower Retirement Home, you can find them on Facebook and you can reach out. So we have a few classes coming up. We have a diploma program coming up that we offer in collaboration with the Institute of Professional and Executive Development in the UK. It's IPED. So we are going to do some programs, some short programs with them. So if
Right.
you just want to do like a short program, like a CPD, professional development, continuing professional development,
Right.
and you want to do something short, like a 4 weeks course, 6 weeks course, the courses that are coming up would actually be perfect. So, we have a few courses in business, customer service, advertising, promotion, marketing, occupational health and safety. So there's a lot of things coming up with the schedule. The schedule is not out as yet, but I'm confident it'll be before the ending of the week, and then you can visit, and by that time, you'll definitely have a full listing of what's coming up and what you
And,
can participate in.
and I will be posting all of those links below in the description so you can go and follow her on all her social media and her businesses on all her social media handles. It was such a pleasure to have you today just to share all your gems and your wisdom and your experiences. It was an honor to have you. Thank you so much for joining.
You are most welcome. Thank you for having me. It's actually an honor to be on this platform. So thank you so much for having me. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in today. Please remember to subscribe, to like, to share, and comment. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.